A tall, lanky man walked into the bar and immediately started looking at the customers. He was really handsome and was dressed in a plaid shirt, jeans, and cowboy boots. No hat hiding his wavy hair with a streak of graying. Standard attire for this Western country bar. Even though he saw the woman he was looking for, he waited away from the bar where he could watch her without catching her eye. He waited until she had a couple drinks in her before making his move. She was with another woman at the bar, and both would occasionally get up to dance with one or more men who approached them. In each case, they declined the opportunity to join their dance partners at their table. It seemed like they were here to have a good time, not to pick up some guys. When she ordered her third drink, she didn't realize that the stranger had told the bartender to pour her a double, and he would pay the difference. When she was about to pay for her third drink, he intervened. "I'll pay for the lady's drink, if she doesn't mind." The woman stared at him for a while and finally said, "Just because I say yes to the drink, it doesn't mean I'll say yes to you." He smiled and told her he was fine with that. She raised her left hand to make her wedding ring more visible. "I understand you are married. Although you're quite an attractive lady, I have another reason to talk to you." She turned around on the bar stool to face him. "Oh, and what would that be?" Holding out his right hand, he said, "My name is Brandon Knight, and I write short stories." The woman looked skeptical but shook his hand. "I admit that's an unusual phrase. It might be funny to hear." Her friend intervened. "I'm going to go dancing. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. I'll be right here." After watching her friend walk out onto the dance floor, she continued, "So, what were you saying?" "The short stories I write are about cheating." "Treason? Is that why you're talking to me? Do I look like a whore to you?" She was getting angry. "Whoa, wait a minute. I'm not accusing you of anything. I go around asking people to talk to me if they've been cheated on or cheated on. If so, I pay them to answer some questions. I do not ask for any information that would identify any of the characters in the story. If the person doesn't want to answer any of the questions, I walk away, unless, of course, most of the questions are unanswered. A person can leave at any time. If you haven't cheated or been cheated on by someone else, I'll quickly go my way with an apology and you get a free drink." Skepticism was replaced by bewilderment on the woman's face. "So, Mr. Knight, if someone tells you a story about cheating, what happens to the story?" "If you don't mind, please call me Brandon. I won't ask your name. If the story is good enough, it gets published and I get paid. If it doesn't get published, I lose the money I paid that person and all the costs associated with getting the story." "And how much money do you pay people for their stories?" "As soon as a person tells me they cheated or were cheated on and want to talk about it, I give them $200, which is non-refundable. If all questions are answered, I give the person another $300. Thus, the total could be $500. As an added bonus, you get to read your story in print, knowing that only you know who all these people really are." At this point, the wheels really started turning in her head. "Let me see that $200. Not until you tell me you're the one who cheated or was cheated on and are willing to answer my questions." She took a deep breath. "Okay, I cheated. And I might be willing to talk if we can keep from saying anything that might identify me, my husband, or my former lover. It's a deal. Can we go somewhere more private to talk since we want to keep this private? I have to go tell Agnes first. We are not allowed to sit at a table, in a booth, or go outside with a man unless the other goes with her." The lady went and spoke to her friend to explain that she was going to sit at the table, but she was not going to go outside with the man. They found themselves in the booth farthest away from the other visitors. They sat across from each other and settled into their seats. Brandon pulled out a notepad and reiterated the rules of confidentiality. He emphasized that she could stop any time she felt too uncomfortable. That seemed to calm her nervousness a bit. "Okay, you said you were the one who cheated?" She nodded her head in the affirmative, but then stopped. "Wait, how do I know I'm not being recorded?" "I'm recording your responses, so I'm assuming you're being recorded. It's up to you not to give me anything that could identify you." He smiled. "By the way, you need to speak into the microphone in my bolo tie. Your husband is outside eavesdropping." They both laughed, and then he placed $200 bills on the table in front of her. "Are you ready?" "Okay, here we go. Question 1. Are you currently cheating?" "No." I broke up with him a couple weeks ago. Which of these time frames best describes when you started having an affair? A month ago or less? 3 months ago or less? 6 months ago or less? Or more than 6 months ago? Are we only talking about the most recent affair? Yes, it gets too complicated if we're talking about more than one affair. Then it would be 6 months ago or less. God, I can't believe I'm talking to a stranger about this. If it's too much for you, we can stop. He reached for the money, but she quickly put her hand on the bills. No, I'm fine. Just keep going. Okay. Is the person you had an affair with a man or a woman? What? You think I'm a lesbian? Hey, I can't predict what a lesbian looks like. You'd be surprised how many people I've talked to have homosexual and heterosexual relationships. Of course, you realize that homosexuality is almost a matter of pride these days. Personally, I don't care what the relationship is. In fact, I don't care as long as the story is accepted for publication. Sorry, it just didn't seem right to me. I guess I'm still too old-fashioned. But in case you're wondering, I don't do that. Okay, next question. Does the man you recently had an affair with belong to the same racial ethnic background as you? A more concerned expression appeared on the woman's face. I'm a little afraid to answer that question. Truth be told, interracial affairs are more likely to be publicized. So if it's true in your case, please tell me. Judging by your hesitation, he is of a different race. Do I have to specify what race? Preferably, but it's not necessary. Okay, I'll just say he's a different race. This is probably a good idea, as it could be a prank if you have a small group of acquaintances. Next, have you met this person at your workplace, in your neighborhood, in community religious organizations, or on social media? If you don't want to answer about your workplace, I'll assume you work in an environment where there are very few people where you could figure out who this person is. I work for a large company. I met him there. Okay, how did you first meet him? Before she could answer, the waitress brought the woman her fourth drink of the evening. A double shot, of course. As soon as the waitress left, the lady continued. He was introduced to the employees on my floor by human resources when he was first hired. After that, he would stop by my table to talk. And flirted? Yes, we flirted, but it's not unusual in our workplace. We banter a lot, except when the boss is around. So, when was the first time you were sure there might be more than just flirting between you two? It's a little confusing. We were riding the elevator to our floors. It got really crowded and I was forced to stand in the back right in front of him. It was so tight that my butt was touching his front. As the elevator was going up, I felt something cylindrical between my buttocks pressed through my clothes. I tried to move forward, but he put his hands on my hips and pulled me back. He was getting bigger, and I was getting wetter. By the time the elevator stopped on my floor, I could feel the moisture running down my leg. He stayed in the elevator, and I headed to the bathroom to, relieve myself. Oh, God. I've never told anyone this before. Are you okay to go on? I think I need a break. I got really turned on retelling this story. We'll continue when you're ready. After a couple minutes, she told him to continue. When and where did your first real sexual intercourse occur? In the elevator again. We tried to get into the elevator at the same time to be alone. Usually there was someone else in there, so we didn't do anything. If you're asking about actual intercourse, it was in an empty office behind the post office. I was the only one with a key to it. We shared a desk. For which of these reasons did the affair end? Guilt, he lost interest, you lost interest, you got caught, you couldn't find a safe place, other? Other. I ended it because I found that if an affair with the same person lasts a very long time, you tend to become careless and the likelihood of getting caught increases. When you have sex for so long, the arousal factor wanes too. Sex with the person you love can become as boring as sex with your husband. I couldn't believe it, but one time I actually yawned during sex with my last lover. She blushed and giggled at the memory. Brandon offered, I realize these questions are getting very personal. I appreciate your candor. However, let me know if they become too uncomfortable. Again, I assure you that your answers are completely confidential. Do you want to continue? Do I get the other $300? No, not yet. Okay, then go ahead. I'm almost done talking. Did you have a preferred sex position? All the positions were good, but I think I like cowboy and reverse cowboy the best. Doggy was good, too. And what types of sex do you prefer? Oral, anal, regular? Favorites? Is there an answer to all of the above? She grinned and finished her fourth drink of the evening. Do you think you'll have another affair? If you mean, will I pursue someone intentionally? Then the answer is no. Will I take advantage of a good opportunity if I get one? Then the answer is yes. It's not on the questionnaire, but how do you define good opportunity? Well, if the guy is hot, and the time and place we're meeting makes it unlikely we'll get caught. Does it matter if he's married or not? No, if it doesn't matter to him, why should it matter to me? It would be hypocritical to make it matter when I cheat on my husband. This brings us to the next questions. What do you think was the main reason or reasons that made it acceptable for you to cheat on your husband? 1. Was he inadequate in bed? 2. Did you want sex more often than he wanted? 3. The excitement of a secret affair? 4. You drank too much alcohol and got carried away? 5. Did you fall in love with someone else? 6. Other. I don't consider my husband inadequate. I wish he was bigger, took more time for foreplay, bathed more often before sex, and spent more time. In fact, now that I think about it, I'm probably having sex with another man because my husband is just one man. Having multiple options for sex is the main reason I do it, and the excitement of hiding it. It takes a lot of work and planning, you know? Brandon and the woman were interrupted by her friend Agnes, who said, I'm going to sit at the table with Fred. I think it's okay now that you've done it. Don't worry, we're not going out. Hearing no objection, she and Fred moved to another booth out of hearing range. Are we almost done? My friend has a habit of getting into trouble, and I promised to keep an eye on her tonight. Yeah, almost done. How do you think your husband would react if he found out? Would he hit you, kick you out, leave, threaten divorce, seek divorce, retaliate? Or would he forgive you and beg you to stay with him? If he wanted you to stay, would he have agreed for you to leave your lover? Or would you have had to give him up? Ooh, that's hard to think about. Of course I wondered. Being caught is part of the excitement, which is probably the main reason I keep having affairs. My conclusion is this. First, I need to do everything in my power to make sure he doesn't find out anything. If he did, he would probably threaten divorce, but I think he would back down once I begged him not to and promised never to do it again. I do love him, and he has been a good husband, father, and even an adequate lover. Sex on the side is just something I want, and it won't really hurt our marriage. He knows he wouldn't handle the financial division that divorce usually leads to poorly. As long as he doesn't have pictures, videos, or audio tapes, he would have no reason to get more than 50-50. I really don't want to talk about this. It's just too depressing. It was very interesting. I think it will make a story that I can easily sell. All that's left is... The woman caught a glimpse of a man heading toward their booth. It was her husband. Honey, it's good to see you. This is, Mr. Knight. He's a writer. He's interviewing me for a story he's writing about happy marriages. He says there are too many stories about cheating spouses, and he wants to even the score. Hey, Brandon. Hi, Lester. A look of horror and shock appeared on the woman's face. You two know each other? The husband spoke completely calmly. Of course I hired him. Brandon is a private investigator. She felt like she was treading water in concrete shoes. Honey, I just made up this crazy story to get some money. He was stupid enough to think I was telling the truth. You see, I have $200 and he owes me another $300. However, I could tell by the look on her face that she realized she was caught. Nice try. You always were a quick thinker on the fly. I'm sorry you couldn't resist. Sorry, I forgot. You said you preferred the writing position. Lester, how did you know what I said? Brandon said, I lied about the interview being confidential. I didn't lie about the microphone in my bolo tie. The woman cried. Lester announced, Well, Brandon, I guess I owe you $100. Still sobbing, she asked, You only paid a private detective $100 to spy on me? No, my dear, I paid much more than that. You were very good at hiding your affair. When he couldn't find any evidence through regular surveillance, Brandon suggested this scam to trap you. I bet him $100 that you'd be too smart to fall for it. Looks like I was wrong. By the way, the correct answer to what your husband would do if he found out is divorce. No, you wouldn't divorce me over a harmless affair, would you? You want to bet?